This video is based on real criminal cases and is presented for educational and documentary purposes only. Viewer discretion is advised. On July 8, 2003, an employee working as a cashier at a Little Caesars pizza location in San Jose, California, received one of the most disturbing phone calls of their life. On the other end of the line was a young girl, her voice trembling, clearly trying to hold back tears. She didn't speak in full sentences. Instead, she carefully spelled out every letter of her home address, one by one. What the cashier didn't know at the time was that the little girl had been kidnapped, and her abductor was standing nearby, forcing her to make the call. After being held captive for several days, this brief phone call would become her only connection to the outside world. Later, the man would come downstairs and return upstairs holding a pizza box. He stood there silently, staring at her. He handed her a flyer that had been placed on top of the box. On it was a picture of her face. Across the page were the words, "Missing." He looked at her and said that he would have to get rid of her that night. By the time police eventually arrived at the original crime scene, 9-year-old Jeanette Tamayo had already been kidnapped, assaulted, and taken far away. She was long gone. Investigators would soon learn that the young girl had been abducted from her home shortly after school. Later, police obtained surveillance footage from a nearby security camera, but the quality of the recording was so poor that it was initially deemed unusable. With no usable footage and no witnesses, police were left with no immediate leads in the disappearance of 9-year-old Jeanette Tamayo. As the days passed with no major developments and no statewide Amber Alert issued, Jeanette realized that no one was coming to save her. She understood that if she wanted to survive, she would have to take matters into her own hands. Her fear slowly began to transform into determination. She told herself that she was a fighter and that she would make it out alive. Earlier that day, in the thriving city of San Jose, California, located in the heart of Silicon Valley, Jeanette had gotten off her school bus and started walking toward her home. When she arrived, she noticed something unusual. The screen door was slightly ajar. She assumed that maybe her mother had come home early from work and didn't think much of it. She stepped inside and went straight to her bedroom. That's when she realized something was wrong. Her bedroom window had been smashed, and shards of broken glass were scattered everywhere. Alarmed, Jeanette backed away and ran toward the phone to call her mother, but quickly discovered that the phone line had been cut. Before she could fully process what was happening, she heard a knock at the door. She turned around and saw a stranger standing behind the screen door. Confused and frightened, she hesitated, but eventually opened it. As the man began asking her questions, he repeatedly leaned forward, peering into the house as if checking to see who else was inside. His behavior made her extremely uncomfortable. Feeling a bad vibe, Jeanette slowly began closing the sliding door. Suddenly, the man placed his hand between the door, forced it open, grabbed her, and dragged her into her brother's bedroom. He threw her onto the bed and assaulted her. Out of respect for Jeanette, the details of the assault are not described, as they are extremely graphic. Afterward, the attacker handcuffed her wrists and tied her legs together. He then carried her to his car, which was parked inside the garage. As he attempted to lift the garage door, he could only open it a few inches before he noticed another vehicle pulling up directly in front of the house. From the back seat, Jeanette immediately recognized her mother Rosalia's car. When the garage door opened slightly, Jeanette's brother Paul crawled underneath. The first thing Jeanette told him was to run. But before he could escape, the attacker exited the car and moved toward him. Paul was only 15 years old and knew he didn't stand a chance, but he chose to fight anyway. He grabbed a screwdriver from the counter and charged at the man. The attacker quickly disarmed him and began punching him repeatedly in the face. Restrained by handcuffs and rope, Jeanette could do nothing but watch as the attacker dragged her brother back into the house. Inside, they encountered Rosalia. She attempted to fight the man and managed to separate him from her son. Paul then rushed toward the kitchen cabinet and pulled out a frying pan, trying once more to help her mother. Again, the attacker disarmed him and turned the weapon on Rosalia, striking her over and over until she collapsed onto the ground. Jeanette remembers hearing her mother screaming, and then everything went quiet. She couldn't hear much after that. The man rushed back into the garage and returned to the car.
When Jeanette saw blood on his face, she asked if he had killed them. The man laughed. Jeanette immediately began to cry, unsure if her family was still alive. Seeing the blood, she believed her family might be gone forever. The attacker sped away recklessly, crashing through nearby bushes. Despite her restraints, Jeanette managed to turn around and take one last look at her home before they turned the corner. She felt a wave of relief when she made eye contact with Rosalia running behind the car. Her mother was badly injured, her face covered with blood, but she was alive. Behind her, Paul limped toward nearby bystanders, waving his arms and screaming for someone to call the police. As the car disappeared, Jeanette screamed at passing drivers, slamming her shoulder against the window in an attempt to get their attention. The attacker noticed and grabbed the screwdriver, striking her violently. After being hit twice, Jeanette moved out of his reach. She slid down in the seat, staring at the ceiling of the car, convinced she was going to die.